G'day everyone, welcome to Tassie Rules, Tasmania's footy show. Rick Fontaine back with you for another week. We're certainly getting down towards the business end of the season as we approach finals. Some have already begun, so we're going to be focusing a little on that tonight. We'll have a club in focus and we're going to also head down south to the Kingborough Tigers. So we're looking forward to catching up with their president a little bit later on in the show as well. But firstly, a big milestone is coming up in the NTFA this week out at the Longford Football Club. And there he is, Ben Chugg, his 300th club game this Saturday when the Tigers take on North Launceston. That is out at Longford. He's been a lifelong Tiger and played in multiple junior premierships. Also a two-time senior best and fairest winner, winning the Fred Davies medal. Former senior coach, also current reserves and under-16 coach, have played a massive role in the reserves four-peat premiership side from 2021 to 24, and a very famous name, of course, out at Longford as well. So well done to Ben Chugg on a great milestone. We wish him well. Now, the Oatlands District Football Association finals continue this weekend, and Campania, well, firstly, they are through to the grand final. They beat Bothwell last weekend by 28 points, finished the game really strongly. They kicked 4-1 in the final quarter. And from all reports, in front of a near record crowd, which is absolutely fantastic. David Cragg, he kicked 3 for the winners, whilst for the Rabbits, it was Dylan and Tyler Ford. They kicked a couple each. So we'll move ahead now and look at the results of the first semi-final. And that saw Triabunna end Mount Pleasant's season with a 16-point victory in that game as well. So that leaves the preliminary final to be played this weekend. And it is Bothwell and Triabunna who are going to face off in the preliminary final. Details there on your screen at Oatlands at 1:30 this weekend, so on this Saturday rather. So head-to-head, Bothwell have had the wood. They've won by 54, 13 and 74 points respectively during the season. The winner will then take on Campania in next Saturday's grand final, also at Oatlands, and that will start at 1:30. Now, we had to put this up. Peter Haley has sent us in an absolutely cracking photo from the Perth game. This is Jake Cairns taking a pretty spectacular mark, and geez, he timed it beautifully with the photo. So thank you very much to Peter Haley, a regular contributor from Perth Football Club. This was against the East Coast Swans. It was a top-of-table clash in the NTFA Division 2. Perth winning this one by 27 points in their encounter. So we might take a look at the Division 2 ladder now in the NTFA as it currently stands. You can see there Perth on top. They are undefeated. They've had a great season so far. East Coast remain in second place from Evandale and rounding out the top 5, Campbelltown there as well, and Bridport. But we can see as well that the University of Tasmania at the bottom on 4. They won their first match in 764 days last weekend. They beat Meander Valley by 3 points in an absolute thrilling bottom of the table clash. So big well done to University of Tasmania with that victory. Sticking with the NTFA, we'll look at the Division 1 ladder now and see how things are standing there. And Rochalee, well, they are in red-hot form. They've had a great year. They are on top. The top 5, incidentally, is actually set, depending on results. The only positions that could fluctuate are 4th and 5th. Hillwood take on Bridgenorth at Parrot Park, whilst St Pat's face Old Launcestonians at Cressy. So the final 5 is set for the finals. Division 1 ladder for women, Bridgenorth, Old Scotch and Old Launcestonians. There they are. They are occupying the top 3, dominating the season. As many expected, they'll head into the final round before finals this weekend. And NTFA Premier Division women, we can see that South Launceston remain on top of the table, 11 wins and 2 losses, but they are just half a game clear of Deloraine. Launceston and Scottsdale rounding out the top 4, and obviously, as you can see by the ladder there, they will all play finals. North Launceston and Longford rounding out the table there. And finally, on the NTFA Premier Division for men, no change to the top 4 in Premier Division, but there was a cracking game at Longford on the weekend. It was a real seesaw contest, this one. South kicked a very late goal to claim victory by 4 points. And they are 3rd and 4th on the ladder. They'll stay like that. The positions won't change as we head towards the back end of the home and away season before the finals get underway with North Launceston and Launceston in the top two. Now, we haven't focused on it this season. We thought we'd spend a little bit of time on the old scholars down south. And we've got some highlights to play here from what was a great game between St Virgil's and Hutchins in the Old Scholars League. Vision is courtesy of Duff TV. And we thank Duff and also the commentary from Tom Green and Jason Berry. Let's take a look at it.
Copperman now decides to have a bounce, wheels onto that right boot. It's a 2-on-1, but the one is Johnston, happens to get it to ground, falls over to, it is Julius Patanoitis. Kicks the goal in the role of the crummer.
That makes it a little bit more interesting here at Queen Rival, Tom.
Could we have a grandstand finish, something that we all here want, not to mention those watching along at home on Duff TV, as Cleary gets it out to Davies. They've got their tails up now. Don't you worry about that. Out of the congestion now goes Copperman. He's got men in numbers. And it's Brennan. I lost sight of his mullet there for a while. He's gone behind his back. Heads in the direction of Bailey. Bester there. Still with Bester now. Can he collect in a dangerous spot? Nice tackle from Essex. Coming through was Banks onto the left boot. He might have put it beyond doubt with the quick reply.
Some great highlights with thanks to Duff TV and commentary as well. St Virgil's winning in the end by 31 points, 14-8-92, defeating Hutchins 9-7-61. And did you spot the ground? A beautiful, picturesque old ground, former home of Sandy Bay, a very famous Tasmanian football club, the magnificent Queenborough Oval, looking out over the Derwent from up high in Sandy Bay. That was a good game. Now, the finals do start as well for the Old Scholars this weekend, and we'll just have a look at what's coming up. The qualifying final is on Saturday. Dosa are taking on OHA. This will be played at North Hobart Oval at 2 o'clock, and then on Sunday, it's the elimination final knockout clash at Newtown Oval, 2 o'clock start. University are taking on St Virgil. So if you can get along to those, that would be fantastic. All right, we're going to take a quick break. But with thanks to Harrison Agents, we've got our Club in Focus, which is going to take us to the Northwest Coast. That's coming up next.
For 30 years, DLM Machinery has kept Tasmania's construction industry moving. As the sole Tasmanian distributors of Cabelco, ASV Positrax and Merlot telehandlers, we offer trusted sales, parts and service with locations in Launceston and Hobart. From excavators to telehandlers, routine maintenance to field repairs, our skilled team has you covered wherever the job takes you. DLM Machinery. Local, reliable, ready when you need us. Get in touch today.
Welcome back now with thanks to Harrison Agents. It is time for a Club in Focus, and this week we're heading down the Northwest Coast. This is a pretty good story. The East Ulverston Football Club. Well, it's been an historic one for this football club because at the end of the home and away season, they finished on top of the ladder for the very first time. Quite an extraordinary performance from them throughout the course of the season. They've dropped just the one game, and this Saturday they're going to take on Wesleyvale in the second semi-final. The winner then to advance to the grand final. That's going to be at Ulverston on the 30th of August. Callan Mann is into his third year as senior coach at the Ulverston Football Club. We thought we'd better get him on the show and find out the secret to his success, and he joins us now. G'day, Callan. Nice to have you with us, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me on, mate.
Very good to have you with us. We're going to pop up a few picks during the course of our interview, mate, but we'll go back to round two. That was the only game you lost against Wesleyvale by 50 points. You faced them this weekend, of course, as we mentioned, in the second semi, but to have not dropped a game since round two on Anzac Day, you must be very happy with where the side is currently placed as you head into a big game on the weekend.
Yeah, I use the term currently as well. I think, from round two, we learned a lot. Our discipline definitely wasn't there. We had a couple of people sent off, which left us undermanned and stretched us. And Wesleyvale's a team that they're pretty good on the ball. So if you leave them enough time and space, they've got some really good ball users that can get it in really quick. And, we took lessons away from that. I didn't want to... I think my big focus is stepping stones, and we took a step back in that space. But to build upon that and fortunately not lose the game. There's a couple of tight ones there, but the ones that we've come out on top in, Really pleasing, and you want to be winning those close ones because they do build you for when it comes towards the finals end of the campaign.
Certainly. All right, I want to take you back to the undisciplined acts that happened with a couple of sending offs. How did you address that, Callan? Because obviously that's, as you said, it leaves you thin.
It's a hard one because as a playing coach, you're out there, and in the moment, like I actually didn't realise that we had two blokes sent off. So it was. I actually was starting to wonder, like, why does it feel like there's extra players out here? Didn't actually realise there actually was extra players. So uh, to address it there, it was really frustrating. Like we build up the game. We get these extra nice looking Guernseys for Anzac Day. It was a special occasion, and we didn't really live up to it in that space. And the Vale, credit to them, they put us to the sword that day, and in that third quarter in particular, I think back and we lacked discipline, but we also lacked the energy to want to drive the ball and play the way that we do. And naturally, we're a fast moving team, but we were anything but that day. So it was definitely a factor that we played upon, but we also learned from that as well. So that was the pleasing part, looking back now on that space.
Yeah. Now, the club, it's been starved of success. Won a premiership for the last time back in 2002. What's been the change in this build up towards where you find yourself now, where you really are in control of your own destiny as a club?
Yeah, I look at it. I mean, obviously, 2002, great year for everyone that was involved in that space. But our last prelim final was 2016. We had a little bit of tilt at a flag in that point, and since I've come along on board, there was actually the possibility of a merger between us and Mott Preston, which I don't think either side wanted. And thankfully, as I said the other week, thankfully that it didn't happen for both sides because Preston's been a pretty successful club, on a whole, and we want to try and make our club a successful one now, and one that's attractive for blokes to want to come and play at. And I think the turning point since I've come on board, I just wanted to turn it into a culture first with our character. I think good character as well as good footballers promotes success as well. And we've definitely gone after good footballers. This last 3 years since I've come along, it's sort of been a bit of a journey. And if you look at another club in the NWFA, Sheffield, they went and won it last year. And I sort of followed the way that Aaron McNabb and his team had done it. And, it's got us to where we are today. We've gone and added each year for the last 3 years. We've gone and added, some good personnel, some really good key pillars that we've been requiring for a little bit, and we've managed to get them, and they've got us to this point. Now, obviously, we're not at the pointy end. We're at the pointy end, but we're not there yet to try and vow for the title. But we're there, and we want to be the best, and to be the best, you've got to beat the best, and we've certainly got that coming up on this next fortnight. So,
Indeed. Well, Callan Mann is our guest, senior coach of East Ulverston Football Club. Speaking of pillars, Callan, nice segue into Jack Orton. What a season he's had. 114 goals from 13 games, averaging over 8 a game. I think he's the leading goal scorer in football in Tasmania, full stop. A remarkable season in front of the sticks, but tell us about his influence.
Mate, he's super special, and I was only talking about this the other night, and he said he wished he hadn't missed those 2 games that he's missed, because I don't know what he would have had. He'd up towards 150, I'm assuming, but mate, he's a special player, but also a special bloke. He's a humble sort of fellow, just goes about his business, but you put the ball anywhere near him and he's marking it, or he's bringing it to ground for our other fellas as well. So, I mean, he's set up as many almost as he's kicked, so for someone like Jack to come across, it's been huge for us. And he's got good mates that have also come across. So, when you know someone that's a good footballer, but he's also got mates, it's also very exciting for our footy club to try and employ a few more of them over to us.
Indeed. Now, before we get to the final point, which is obviously taking a look at the final coming up this weekend, tell us a little bit about East Ulverston Football Club. Of course, part of the NWFA. There are a lot of football clubs in that area, and it's obviously, we know around Tasmania a lot of clubs struggle to survive because volunteers are hard to find, and it is a tough environment sometimes in community football. What's keeping this club together? Because as you said, you went through a period where there was a bit of uncertainty around potential merger discussions. But what's special about this football club that you could tell the rest of Tasmania?
To be honest, I think it's more about the community environment. Like our functions, something we pride ourselves on. We try and, I mean, most clubs would have good functions, but as I said before, our character, the people that we get into our club are people that we want to have around for a long time, and they're the ones that we go after are the ones that we know are probably going to stick around for a while. And I think the committee have worked really hard. Those that have been before us and that have played their 200 games, but they're no longer playing for us. They've put the foundations in place, and now, in some ways, we're reaping those benefits of being able to get people, as you say, there's 3 or 4 clubs within the Ulverstone area that press for the same league. You've got Turners Beach, Forth, Preston, and us as well, East Alby, and so we want to be as attractive as possible. And I think the brand of football that we play is something that we're trying to make something where people want to come and watch, and it's a good spectacle for people to come and see. But just the way that we embrace each other and embrace. I've really noticed that this last month in particular, obviously being able to finish on top for the first time, just what it meant to some of the people that have been around the club for a long time. Like, I remember walking in, you got Ricky Rodman, tears in his eyes, and Katrina Midgley, the kitchen lady, she burst into tears, jumped on me and gave me a big hug. And it's those moments. Now, granted, we haven't got to where we need to be, and I understand that, but it's also those moments that you realise this is more than just a footy club. Like, this is a family to some people. So, I've really enjoyed that side of it, and being able to, embrace this is, as you say, my 3rd year of coaching. It's probably been the most enjoyable one, not only because of the results, but just seeing what it actually does mean to people, and just being able to, sit back and watch how people react to our victories has been something to behold, I suppose.
Fantastic. And look, well, hopefully for you guys, a couple of more games and a big celebration in a couple of weeks' time. Now, last time you played Wesley Vale, you won this by 11 points back in round 9. We're going to bring up the schedule for this weekend's games in the NWFA. Now, Wesley Vale beat Mott and Preston by just a point in the qualifying final last week. Where do you see the keys to trying to get the path straight through to the grand final, Callum?
I think it's a midfield battle. They've got a really, really good player, Jack Rand, superstar in the midfield in their engine room there, and then you got Ben Hefford, who probably goes a little bit unsung in the midfield. I rate him really highly as a player as well. But right across the ground, they've got blokes that can really damage her. Having come from Latrobe myself in 2021, I played with a lot of these people that are out at Wesley Vale, so they're out at Latrobe Way, and there's some. Rory Gurr, he's a proven match winner. And then you've got the Weeks brothers as well that work really hard either back or forward. And so we definitely have to be on our game. And time again, we've had really good battles, actually, to be honest, with Wesley Vale. I went and watched them last week, and they did really start red hot. So we're going to have to be very wary of that come Saturday. But I think midfield battle is going to be huge. We've got some really quality players in our midfield, as do they. So I think whoever wins that obviously sets it up pretty well. And then I guess who's got the better. I know we can talk about forwards, but I actually think lots of times these sorts of games are won on defence. So we'll see how we go against them.
We'll do it. So 12 o'clock for the reserves and 2 p.m. for the senior game getting underway. Callum, man, it's been great to have you on. Thank you, because it's great to focus on a club in the NWFA. It doesn't get a lot of attention in the media from time to time, so it's nice to be able to chat to you. We appreciate you giving us some of your time. We wish you well, because it should be a fantastic clash and a great couple of weeks coming up. Hopefully, some big celebrations for your side as well.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. Yeah, look, I honestly think the 4 sides that are in there now deserve to be in there, and to be honest, on their day, anyone can beat anyone, and that's finals footy, and that's what you want. And we're going out, and we know what we've got to do. It's just about putting it together. So hopefully we can do it on Saturday.
Hopefully you can. All the best, mate. Great to have you with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Callum Mann joining us, the senior coach there for the East Ulverston Football Club in the NWFA. Thanks to Harrison Agents, another club in focus. We're going to take a quick break. We're heading south after this.
HST Tree Specialists. We are the industry leaders in vegetation management in Tasmania. Our services include tree solutions, hazardous vegetation removal, and project consultations. We are committed to eliminating vegetation-based risk in Tasmania while being sensitive to environmental impact, with a strong focus on health and safety practices. And from large-scale government and commercial projects, small private arboriculture jobs, and equipment hire, MyTas recommends HST.
Great to have your company on Tassie Rules, Tasmania's footy show, with thanks to the team at DLM Machinery. Well, we are heading down south. We're getting towards the back end of the season, really important period in the SFL Premier League, and one of those clubs that is going to be featuring very heavily. It's great to be able to do a bit of a focus on them for the first time on our show, because we are Tasmania's footy show, and it's a great pleasure to welcome the president of the Kingborough Tigers Football Club, Dan Wiley, to the show. Great to have you with us, Dan. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me.
The club itself, it built a great club and culture down there at Kingborough. You won the TSL Premiership a couple of years ago, and now you're into year one post-TSL. How's the feeling down at Kingborough? Because obviously for the SFL, Northwest and the NTFA, the ex-TSL clubs, it's been a massive adjustment. But how are you and the club finding it?
Yeah, it's been a pretty interesting year, I'd say, and moving back from state football to regional football it's not something that I guess we as a state haven't done before, but it's certainly not something the Kingborough or Kingston Tigers have done, and obviously as a state we haven't done it for 25 years, so it's a really interesting period of transition, and we've gone through some changes similar to some other clubs where some players have gone into state to continue testing themselves at a state level. We've also seen some players that don't quite have the appetite for a regional Premier League competition to step back to those community leagues. I think, for us this year, it's the old footy adage, we're just taking it 1 week at a time, sort of on and off the field. I think we've been pretty careful to try and remain fluid where we can and not sort of, back ourselves into any corners operationally. And as I said, it's a transition year, and that's something that we're really conscious of. You've also got to manage that with, the fact it's a year of players' careers that we're working through, and we want to treat that with the respect that it deserves. Also for us, obviously we're very blessed to be the new home of the Devils High Performance Centre down at the Twing Oval. So that's a whole other piece of work that we're working through, and I don't think it's going to be an easy couple of years until we get to the end state, but it's certainly very exciting.
And my word, it is. There is certainly plenty happening down there, and obviously the men's and women's side right in the mix with finals as well. We'll get on to the women a little bit later on in the chat, but the men currently sitting fourth with just one win and not a lot of percentage separating third to fifth. We've got the ladder up on the screens now for our viewers, so it's a pretty big few weeks coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, and great to get the job done at Brighton out at Pontville last week, and we were probably fortunate to have Glenorchy get beaten by Lauderdale by a few more points than we maybe thought they might have, and that sort of helped us out, percentage-wise for them. So, as you say, we've jumped into fourth, and next week hosting North Hobart at the Twins is massive. We're only a game behind them. We've got a small percentage jump on them, so there's the opportunity to jump into a home elimination finals sort of box seat. I think we'd need a lot to go our way the week after against Lauderdale, but putting a best foot forward against North Hobart is going to be really important.
Yep, huge week coming up. That one will be. It's obviously going to be a bit of a strange feeling around the club from next season with your coach, obviously, with Trent leading the senior men's program, Trent Bowman, of course. Before we get into the exciting new coaching panel, for our viewers, give us a bit of an overview of Trent's influence over the club in his time with Kingborough.
Yeah, it's a really significant period of change for the club and also for the playing group. And in a weird way, if you're a well-organised or successful club, you almost don't get to go through these kind of periods of change very often. We're very fortunate to have Trent, who's been leading our program for 8 years now. He came in 2018, and was a very well credentialed coach. He was a senior assistant at North Hobart. He was a Mariners under-18 boys coach, a state academy under-17s coach, and he really built that list to where it's, I guess, had the ability to win the state league flag in 2023. When he came in, I think it was a 3-15 record. I think we were only a few years into TSL football at that point in time. So for him to build the list, and I guess the club more holistically, the way he did was really fantastic. At that point in time in 2023, we'd been through 2 three-peats from Launceston and North Launceston. So being the club that I guess broke the back of that northern dominance is something that we'll always have, and that's a really great part of our club and our history. But for Trent, I think the allure of coaching and testing himself at a higher level is something that's always been there. He's been a state academy assistant the last couple of years, and was the interim head coach last year as well. And that was something that we've always been really clear on with Trent, that if an opportunity presents itself, or it's something that he wants to chase, he's entirely free to do that. So I know he made comment last week, I think it was, that when it seems too scary to jump, that's the best time to jump. Otherwise, you don't end up jumping. So we're really excited for what that next step looks like for him, and obviously wish him a world of success.
Yeah, and that's sort of what you're looking for as well. If you can create that pathway, and he's been able to build that journey and be part of that journey, we do wish you well. He's certainly been fantastic. But the future, geez, it's in good hands, isn't it? You got Lockie Clifford as your playing senior coach, ably assisted by Kieran Lovell, of course, a former Hawthorn player. We've got a shot of them up on the screen now, and of course was a VFL Premiership player, and also Ben Donnelly. So you've got a great team as you move forward.
Yeah, I think it's a really great show of faith from the club in those guys, that they are the ones that we want to have lead us into that next era. I think for those younger players coming through our pathway, the old adage that kids can't be what they can't see really rings true. And seeing someone like a Ben Donnelly, who's only ever played for the Tigers, with Cliffy and Kieran, who are products of Cygnet and Huonville down the road, respectively, leading the way, is really massive, and really gives those younger guys, I think, a bit of a hunger to push themselves and be the next, Lockie Clifford or Kieran Lovell or Ben Donnelly. It's as a progress change. I think it's probably in line with the way I think a lot of other clubs will go with, salary caps and player caps. The way they are, playing coaches will become very popular. But in terms of those guys as the people they are, and what they mean to the club, and how they represent us, I really don't think we could have made a better decision.
No, fantastic decision, I think, from the club as well. I'd agree. Let's go to women's footy. We're going to bring up the ladder. The women's senior side, they're sitting third on the table at the moment, behind top place Clarence and second place North Hobart. So next Saturday, so the 23rd of August, shapes up as a massive day on the field, but also off the field, because it's also Ladies' Day, Dan. So that's going to be a massive day. We're going to bring up the details on the screens now. That is at 12:30 p.m. at Twin Ovals. Just $60, includes lunch and drinks, but a massive day of footy coming up. There is a QR code for viewers as well if you want to click on that one, but or obviously just go to the Kingborough Facebook page. But geez, that's a massive weekend coming up against North Hobart.
Yeah, and our senior women have played in the grand finals in 23 and 24, and unfortunately, unlucky to not be able to get the job done either time. And this year was a bit of a funny one, and we started somewhat on the back foot. I think the first 5 games we had 1 win, 2 losses, and 2 byes, and I think the way the fixture went, we were just kind of in the shadows a little bit. And, since our second loss in round 2 there, we've only dropped one other game. So I think we haven't had a lot of attention for most of the year, and it's allowed the group to just sort of quietly go about their business. Some really great wins over Clarence and North Hobart. We posted our biggest ever score against Lauderdale a few weeks ago, which was awesome to see the girls really play a really relentless brand of football, and I guess keep the foot on the throat for 4 full quarters was really fantastic. But that game against North Hobart's going to be massive, and it's obviously a pretty well established rivalry over the last couple of years with those grand finals as well. But seeing that Clarence, North Hobart and Kingborough are also close in that top 3, that game I think will really determine who finishes where in those positions. So a huge day on field, as you say, and certainly off field, celebrating the women of our club, the players, the WAGs as well, and also those wonderful volunteers that we're so fortunate to have. It's going to be really exciting.
It's great that you're acknowledging them, and particularly the volunteers as well, because we know they're harder to get in not only in sport, but community organisations as well. Now, Dan, we can't let you go without probably congratulating and getting a comment from you on one of the absolute stars of Tasmanian football, Matilda Lang. She won the Tasmania Devils under-16 Best and Fairest for the 2nd consecutive year, also All-Australian. So to win the Best and Fairest is a great achievement, but to do it twice in a row in the underage competition is quite extraordinary. Tell us a little bit about Tilly.
Yeah, Tilly is it goes without saying, she's a phenomenally talented player, but she's also a really wonderful young woman, which is testament to her parents, and they've been able to keep a pretty level head on her shoulders despite the hype that she so richly deserves. Her dad James wouldn't be unfamiliar to people in football circles. He was a William Leach medalist and won 7 Best and Fairest at the Huonville Lions, so she comes from pretty good stock. We're pretty lucky to have James as an assistant coach for our senior women this year as well. But Tilly is without a doubt my favourite player at the club to watch. She plays with a level of confidence and self-assurance that I don't know if I see in any other player. But also, I think, without being unkind to her, she plays in a way that is much more like men or boys of a similar age, which is not to be, I guess, unkind to her and female footballers, but I think it speaks volumes about the benefit of having a full pathway for our youth girls coming through. We're just sort of getting to that point now where players of Tilly's age and girls in their late teens have been able to, play a decade of football before they play senior football, which, 5-10 years ago, those pathways didn't exist. So girls picking up footy at a younger age will only serve the competition better in years to come.
Absolutely. And at that perfect age where perhaps in 2028 she might be running out with the Tassie Devils in the AFLW. So we'll certainly be keeping a very keen eye on her. Dan Wiley, President of the Kingborough Tigers, it's been great to have you on our footy show this week. Thanks very much for being a part of it. Great to learn a lot about what the great exciting things that are happening down there. And we look forward to keeping in touch and hopefully have you guys on again sometime very soon. Thanks for being a part of it all.
Thanks, Rick. Really appreciate it.
Dan Wiley joining us, President of the Kingborough Tigers, and that is all we have got time for on the show this week. We are taking a break next week because we are going to coincide with the grand final weeks coming up in the footy at the back end of the season as well to finish that week. So we're going to be back in a fortnight. Thank you to all of our guests for coming on tonight. And, of course, thanks to DLM Machinery. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Good night.